Alright, today I'm going to continue on with this little a-5 here and show you some things that I did to it today. Um, First of all, I replaced the LEDs here. So now we got 4 greens, yellow, and 2 reds. I did that. To get these boards off of here, sometimes it fights with you a little bit because they're just mounted on these little plastic standoffs, and the edge of these is just kind of like melted, crimped over the edge of the board. So you just take a pair of shear cutters and cut off the side of the plastic that's holding it, and then after you finesse it for a while, eventually it'll come off there without too much trouble. So then I drop down and hit these dropping resistors. There's going to be 22 volts coming in here to feed the LED display. These were originally 560 ohms. I bumped them up to 5.6K. I know that sounds like a lot from 560 ohms to 5.6K. And I'm going to try not to laugh because there's more to this. But I didn't want to change these LEDs. I really honestly did not want to have to do this. These are such nice LEDs. I really have an appreciation for them. They're a nice deep dark red, but deep dark red did not work for me. The only reason I put these in is because I had, well, the secondary reason I put these in is because I had a lot of them. And unfortunately these take a very small amount of current. I don't know if I just said that these actually take 8 times more current than these do. So that's why I had to raise these up so far. So we have our 22 volts there. Now, because of the fact that they took so low a current to power them, we had to come over here to R4, which was a 270 ohm, and we had to take that guy out, and we bumped him up to 820 ohms. Then we dropped down below it, drilled in 4 holes that were like 13 millimeters or so apart, popped in 2 Zener diodes. I didn't have a 22 volt Zener, so I just seriesed a 10 and a 12. This did not need 5 watt Zeners, but that's what I had available to me, and that's what I used. And actually this will work out to a benefit down the road, because I'm not sure that I'm going to leave this display in for the rest of the life of this unit. I may change it again, I don't know. So anyway, the reason we did that is because there's 37 volts setting here, which comes up and hits our filter cap. A nice solid 37, unless you got some kind of huge load on the amp. And this leg here, we wanted to be around 22 volts. Now the problem with that is that since we're pulling so much less current off the leg of this resistor, the voltage at this leg would rise up, and it would probably rise up too high. And when I say too high, I'm estimating this voltage would have probably slung up to maybe as high as 26, 28. It might even hit 30 volts. And that could be a problem. I didn't prove it to be, but I didn't want it to be. So what I did was held this point at 22 volts and just recalculated this value up, taking into consideration the new current going into the LED display, which is very low. So now we have a nice solid 22 volts there. And the reason for that is because this leg also feeds a transistor amp with some rectifiers coming into it that drive the LED display. So I didn't want the collector of that amplifier transistor setting any higher than what Sansui had it setting. So I didn't want the voltage to rise up high above 22 volts. So we held that down for that reason. Now what we could have done, we could have chose another route too. We could have just not put the resistor or the Zehners in here, and we could have just increased this 820 up much higher, and it would have ended up being about probably 1.5K, 1.8K. And with that little bit of current flowing through here, that would have gave us around 22 volts here. But I chose not to do that. I chose to do it a better way and just Zener it. So that's that. Now flipping to the back there's our R4, our 820 ohm resistor we put in there. Right here's the anode and the cathode of our Zeners tied together. Right there's our ground wire we pulled in, coming off the anode of the bottom Zener. And there's our 22 volts now. So there's our ground wire going up to the ground on our filter caps, coming off the anode of the bottom Zener. And that's pretty much all there was to that. Now, on a not so humorous note to me, I had experience with these LEDs before, and there's a million things I could say, but I probably shouldn't. So I was pretty smart this time around, and that's why I knew to go to 5.6K on these LEDs. That's about all I can say about that. So let's see what the darn thing looks like here. And oops, guess it helps if I plug it in. Ooh. I don't know why that transformer is making that funny noise sometimes. So I think that power switch is eventually going to have to get completely replaced, because it was in bad shape. It was the worst power switch I ever saw. It actually doesn't look too bad. I kind of think I kind of nailed it. My camera doesn't make certain colors so great. It's actually not bad. You know, these display types like this, or the drivers to these displays, you know, I just really can't think of the word for it, and probably shouldn't say the word that I want to say when I can think of it. But they're not the greatest, the way they work and everything. You know, you could go ahead and you could put like an LM3914 in here to drive that display, and it would probably respond a little bit better. The top LEDs would be just as bright as the bottom LEDs. You'd be around that problem. Honestly, I never liked the LM3914s. I used them once or twice and I said never again, and that was back in like the early 90s. So when I did it, I just started using high-speed comparators. But, you know, I'm honestly not going to build a whole board of comparators to put a new display driver in this. Nowadays, you know, there's probably 6 million chips out there that do that. And I don't mess with that new stuff. This looks great, and doesn't sound that bad. If you try to goose it, it breaks up on you. The power supply doesn't have no reserve to it. The tone changes went very well with it. Nothing's excessive. Everything was pretty much right in line with the loudness on and the treble where I had it on position. You know, I don't see that there's much more I can do with this. It doesn't have the building block foundation to advance upon. So, but it's a great amp. It's a great little amp. It's so cool because you know, things that are this simple. There's not a lot on the schematic, and depending upon what learning level you're at, you know, you can look at things easily, see them for what they are. You know, you can look and see, okay, well, there's your feedback network. We got this resistor there, that resistor there. So we can calculate what the gain is. You know, we can see the ins and outs of the tone control and get an understanding of that. It's just really a great learning piece. You know, maybe obviously not for everyone, but you know, if you're on the right level, it is. So these are cool to play with. I like messing with them. I don't think I really say anything else about it. You know, honestly, I've never been a fan of these STK modules. If this amp didn't have that in, it would probably open up some possibilities for me. So that's some of the limiting factor. On a humorous note, though, looking in here, you kind of see that there's a lot of space here. So, in case you don't see what I'm getting at yet, there's an awful lot of space in here. And I really don't have any use for a phono amplifier in my position. And if that's not enough, here's the final straw. There seems to be an awful lot of space in there. You see what I'm getting at? I'm not saying I would do this, but you know, it is a thought. And just off the top of my head, there would be two ways to approach that. You know, you could go full out if you had simply nothing better to do with your life and make like a dual mono supply or something stupid for it. Or not really stupid, but just something crazy. Don't take me wrong on the things I say. Or you could just simply, I'm thinking it firsthand, why not just feed half the filter caps off of one transformer and half off the other? I mean, just tie this guy up on the negative cap and tie the other transformer up on top off the positive cap. That would lighten the load on both transformers, even it out. It would give you more power reserve. You know, and of course that would spawn some other changes too, but that would be my first thought on that, of putting two transformers in it. And there's always a significant benefit to that because it balances the unit out, so the unit is less likely, because of the narrow width of it, to slide down and fall behind my rack and crash into the ground, like I've had these small amps do already. So it would balance it out, you know. So there you go, multi-purpose. Hey, thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day.